This is LTV.
Inside Leominster is brought to you in part through the generous support of N.P. Crowley Company Incorporated and by DeCarolis Insurance Agency Incorporated, DeCarolisInsuranceAgency.com, and by Enterprise Bank. Enterprise Bank creates success. EnterpriseBanking.com.
Hello and welcome to Inside Leominster. My name is Dean Mazzarella, Mayor for the city, and yes, we're live this afternoon. It is an absolutely gorgeous, I don't know whether I should say summer, late summer, early fall, but it is October. It's the 26th of the month, and it's just beautiful out. Temperatures are just, typically, things start to cool off in the fall, but so far we've had that third year in a row warm fall, and I enjoy every single bit of it. But things are going to change come Sunday, and so enjoy the next couple of days. We have the Halloween parade on Saturday at 1 o'clock. I'll explain all that later. We meet behind C&M Pizza. Try not to be later than 1, and we start off. You can build a float. You can bring your wagon. You can decorate. You can dress up. We are the parade, and we march all the way down through town, past the Common. We take a right on Church Street in front of the police and fire stations. Then we take another right on Merriam Ave, and then everyone disperses right at the beginning of downtown at Main and Merriam, and trick or treat begins. And the Common, we have activities. It's just a fun day, just a fun day. Anyway, speaking of fun, let's go right to our phones because Art from the Art Report is on tonight, and good late afternoon, Mr. Art.
Yes, it is. It's that time of year, you're going to be putting away the lawnmower, and when you do, good idea I pull out the plug, drain it out of gas, turn it up on its side, and scrape it, the mower deck, and I repaint it. That way it don't rust through, and I have to replace the mower deck. And it doesn't take more than half an hour. And it's always good to be careful you don't spray any of the belts if there's any belts there. Now, I can't do that with my tractor because it's too heavy and too big.
Yeah.
But I've got car ramps that I use when I change the oil in my Classic, and I drive it up on that, and I'm able to get under it and do the same process. Because I did have to buy a mower deck once. And I started thinking, what can I do? And I just spray it with the non-rusting enamel, and it helps delay the process, if anything.
Yes, I've started to use that stuff.
Yeah.
And it actually works.
Yeah. And now you're putting away the lawnmower. That means you got to take out the snowblower. I always recommend this. It's one thing if you take the lawnmower out in spring, it don't start. Nothing get lost at all. I mean, the grass is going to grow a little bit more.
Right.
But if you don't try to start your snowblower before it snows and it don't start, now you got a problem.
Now you're in trouble.
So, that's right. Now, just last week, I took the sidewalk snowblower that I have, the walkway that was in the shed, and I started it and put it over, and I leave it out for the winter. But what I do is I have a tote that people put a lot of junk in and store it at home, and I just invert it, and it covers the whole entire engine compartment, so it keeps it dry and out of the weather. It's almost like a portable garage.
Perfect.
And it works every time for me.
Look at you, Mr. Yankee.
Yeah.
Yankee ingenuity.
Yes. Yes. And it's something I didn't know. I gave you copies of it where it said about all my ancestors, et cetera, for the city back in the day, that my father's brother, I believe, or a relation through my father is buried at the city cemetery here, and he got shot and wounded a number of times in the Civil War.
Amazing.
And I never knew that.
Wow.
So one of these days I want to get over there and find out where he is. I just
Yeah.
like to go over.
If you ask them in the office, most of the time they can guide you over there.
I'm going to bring that paper with me because it has his name and everything.
Yeah.
It says how he was shot in the shoulder and in the hand.
Wow. What was his
It
name?
didn't say how he passed. I think he passed away from pneumonia.
What was his name?
I was reading it. I was half asleep.
No.
I'll look it up. Next week I'll bring it up.
All right. Sounds good.
That'll make a thing. And that's all I have for tonight.
That's enough.
I have to go get a haircut now.
A haircut?
Yes.
Buck a side? Skip the top and do the sides?
I'll be almost going by where you are. I'll be going down on Central Street.
Wow. Look at you.
Capelli's, whatever it is.
Yeah, styling.
Yes, well, of course. I have to take care of my fan club.
That's right.
I mean, let's face it.
You got people.
People, places, and things.
That's right.
Have a good one.
All right. Take care, Art. Art from the Art Report.
Yep.
Always good to hear from him. And we send our condolences. Geez, what a horrible thing. I stayed up most of the night listening. I just couldn't put the phone down because it's my TV and it's my radio and it's everything. And what happened up in Lewiston, Maine, if you know Lewiston at all, Lewiston, Auburn is kind of like Leominster, Fitchburg. It's about 39,000 people in Lewiston. Auburn's a little smaller. And it's kind of like the Twin Cities, Lowell, Lawrence, that kind of thing. It had, in the day, it had a lot of textile factories there, multi-story old mill buildings like Lowell and Lawrence had, or should I say mostly like Lawrence had. And I think Lewiston, Maine is the second largest city in Maine, but I'm not sure. I think it is. Anyway, I knew past mayors that were from Lewiston. Just very diverse community, and to see what happened last night was just devastating. And there's nothing worse than getting that phone call or hearing that, in the situation, a lot of these people, because of social media, people start posting things and they start calling people. And if you knew somebody or a loved one was going to that bar or to that bowling alley on that particular night, and you think to yourself, oh no, they're there. The sheer panic, that feeling that just your heart just drops, and how horrible it was for people to try to get to the hospital and figure out. And there was a guy that I was listening last night, and he was trying to find out if his brother or his son was alive. He was clearly missing, and then it took all night to finally figure out that he had in fact passed away from his injuries. So anyway, just community to community. I knew people up there in Lewiston. I know Lewiston, Auburn area pretty well, and where this guy, I don't assume they've caught him yet. I haven't seen anything come through, but that's a very very rural area and lots of thickly settled woods up there, and to make it confusing, he drove his car to a boat dock, and makes it even more confusing because now did he jump in a boat? See all those communities in sheer panic, closing buildings and retail and schools and city government not knowing exactly what to do, and just trying to be safe. So certainly, as a community, we understand these things, but nothing to this magnitude. All right, taking a short break. And then we got guests today. We'll have some fun. Be right back. So anyway, the reason we're getting this check is the paper store that has 95 stores. That's what I'm told. They have 95 stores. They're warehouses here in Leominster. And they had merchandise in their warehouse that they decided that they're going to open up the warehouse to the public. And they had 2 days, was it? 2 or 3 days? And they picked a charity in town that the first night they would take the proceeds from the first night and donate it back to a local charity. And they picked Ginny's. And so today, if I have the rest is yours.
So we did a pre-sale event that we were donating 100% of the proceeds. And then on Saturday we did a food drive, and we also took additional donations that day. And after the Leominster went through their flooding, we did a donation event at our Leominster store at Water Tower Plaza to raise more.
Thank you guys so much for doing
Look at
this
that.
for us. This is going to make a huge difference.
$9,600. That's a lot of money. It really is. And now this is like, go ahead and explain, Brandon, this is a really important season. People start turning the heat on. And
Yeah, well, I mean,
electricity.
like the mayor said, heat's going on. The holidays are coming up quickly. You know, we every Thanksgiving and Christmas give out holiday food baskets. This will be a huge benefit towards those and making a difference to hundreds of families right here in Leominster. So thank you guys for doing this for us.
Yeah. Well, is he here yet? Is he in? Yeah, Dave's here. Oh, good. All right, we're back here at 978-534-1626. And yes, we have guests, so we got to move along today. I can't rant as I usually do. And that's what usually happens, Sandy, is I start down the main road and I drift off, and then I drift off again, and then try to circle back. Anyway, Sandy Cucchiara is our guest, and she's running for Ward 3 School Committee. And how's the experience been so far?
It's been really interesting.
Interesting.
I've never done this before. I've done work on the
For other
behalf of
people?
other people,
Sure.
door knocking and all of that stuff. But things have changed. The culture's changed. The approach has changed. So what I did was I actually hired one of my former students who is working to pass the LSAT so he can get into law school.
Oh, wow.
So he's pretty impressive, very sharp. He's done a lot of stats. He helped me with some mail merge, which
Wow.
I didn't know
Mail
how that
merge.
worked. So he said that he covered 92% of the voters in
Wow.
Ward 3 by doing these mailings. Then I had people over and we stuffed some envelopes, and then we're going to, hold the signs for a little while. But he even did a traffic study.
Wow. That's
Find
like
out
organic.
who goes where, when. Unbelievable. He just keeps coming up with new
Wow,
ideas. So
that's
it's good.
Caller, welcome
It's
to the
good.
show.
Hey, Dino.
Hey, Crystal, you're early tonight. What's going on?
Not much.
Beautiful weather?
Sure is. Feel like summer.
Yeah, it's going to be 80 degrees for the
have
Halloween parade. So,
We have a new shift leader you have to meet. Her name is Cassie from Twin City.
well, I have to come and visit someday and meet Kathy from Twin City.
Yep, there's a lot of new people you need to meet.
Yeah, there's always new people to meet. That's what I like about
All right. I'll tell your buddy Mark to say hello.
it. All right. Talk to you later.
Take care.
All right.
Bye.
978-534-1626. Yes. So, issues. What are you running on? What's your platform?
Well, Dean, I've been in education for 40 somewhat years, 30 of them in Leominster. I started here in 1990, and I started in special ed at Fallbrook, and then I went to Samoset when it first opened, and again, that was my area of expertise. And then I was dean, and then assistant principal, and then I went to the high school. And it was good. It was good to see the changes, to get to know the kids at
of
different
course.
levels. But it was my son. It was coincidence. It seemed every time I was changing a building, so was he.
Oh, so he went with you.
He went with me.
Wow.
He went with me.
That's
but,
a good thing.
Yeah. It was an experience, but he just didn't, he pretended that he didn't know who I was. But when I got to the high school, also, I worked with the CTEI kids, and they were great. They just
Center
they're
for
good
Technical
kids.
Education and Innovation.
Yeah.
I know we kick it around like the old days. You'd say trade school, anybody would figure it out. Today, it's
yeah.
much different than that.
It's much different.
So, what are the issues? I mean, so what do you?
The issues, I think,
with all of your experience, what do you like? What do you
Well,
see down the road here?
What I see coming down the road are some political issues with regard to curriculum, especially curriculum. I think it's going to be a tough road because there are all sorts of things, as you know, that shape curriculum. And there is controversy with regard to the critical race theory. There's controversy with regard to sex education and how that's going to be approached. And it's an issue with parents, it's an issue with the students, it's an issue with guidance counselors and teachers. And we need to be very careful to do our research, and we need to see what direction would be the healthiest to go in.
Right.
Because that's a very touchy issue.
So, if somebody asks you on those issues like critical race, or or teaching sex education in the classroom, what do you say? I mean, what's your? I mean, people look for you to take a side on things. That's what happens to me all the time. People want to know. So where are you on this? And where are you on that?
Yeah, yeah. And
so
of
what
course,
do you tell them?
Well, it's my opinion. I do feel that we need to do a lot more than what we're doing with social studies. So just starting with that, I think that we need to show where we've come from and perhaps where we're going. So I am one of those people that feels, all right, if there are issues with people's backgrounds, what I think needs to be done is need to take those statues or whatever it is, put them in a museum, and let's talk about it. Let's show them what happened. Give them the information. But to take them down, destroy them, wrong. That's what the Russians do. That's what the Koreans do. That's what the Chinese do. It's not even shown in their history books. At one point, the Brits weren't even teaching the American Revolution. So you can whitewash it. But that's not education. Education, I feel you should be imparting the knowledge to the students, depending, developmentally, and then as time goes on, then adjust it. As far as the sex education piece, with all of the issues that are coming down with that, there are concerns even now because the students in certain places are being, they're protected and that's fine, but there are times that the parents aren't even aware of some things.
Right.
So as a parent, as a grandparent, there are concerns with that, and I really have started, the more research I do on that topic, the more I'm wondering if maybe a way to deal with that would be electives, as opposed to saying, this is part of your curriculum, this is what you're doing. Approach it in terms of an elective, because years ago, I had worked with my, it was actually an honors class with vocational ed kids, and purchased some books that addressed, at that time, the LGBT, all of that. And they were able to choose the books that they wanted. Some were fiction, some were nonfiction. And that was about 15 years ago. So I got a grant for that through the Leominster Education Foundation. And I don't think people realize how much kids are absorbing. I think sometimes we feel they're kids, but they hear a lot and they read a lot, and especially now they see a lot. I mean, now I'm working with third graders, and it's amazing the knowledge that they have.
Oh yeah, the first grade is now fifth grade.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's the truth.
Just a study that come out, and we talk about it at school committee meetings all the time, absenteeism, and of course now there's an actual study that had come out, the Department of Education has said, hey, listen, these numbers are staggering. And, the absenteeism is high, whether it's a result of, COVID or whatever it is. Any ideas on that?
Well, Dean, that's another thing. Our culture is changing. And
the world has changed.
And the world has changed. And what I feel badly about, there are many students who don't have resources for whatever reason in the home. They don't have the technology. They don't have caretakers who sit with them and talk for any number of reasons.
Right.
I'm not judging.
Well, that's the same argument for teaching sex ed in school is they're not getting it at home. They get it on the street. The streets, that's misinformation. So the schools become like home. And now we're sex education is teaching in school. So there's this sort of hamster wheel here.
Yeah, you're right. But with the sex education, too, I think we need to keep in mind the developmental level of the students with whom you're dealing.
Right. Yeah.
What you're going to present to a pre-K child certainly isn't going to be the same thing with a high school student. And even then, you have to be cautious because you don't know from where they're coming.
978-534-1626. Sandy Cucchiara is running for Ward 3 school committee member, and election is coming up, well, in a couple of weeks. I'm having a hard time adjusting to the fact that it's already going to be November starting next week. I haven't written off October, but I always have to be a couple of weeks ahead, planning ahead.
Right.
And it's right around the corner. The first day of November is coming up on Wednesday, and then the following Tuesday will be the election across the city. Anything else you wanted to share with people that might be watching from Ward 3 and maybe they don't know you from the schools? And
my concern is for every child. It isn't just a specific population. We have to be the caretakers. We have to be watching. We have to be careful how we approach them, and there's also only so much that can be absorbed at any one time. We're treading lightly, and adolescence is a terrible time for kids.
Yeah.
And they're questioning and they're searching, and oftentimes if they don't have the guidance, and also it's different. The moral compass is different as far even as church going and all of that, where church or whatever religion is, church, synagogue, mosque, temple, it doesn't have the hold on families like it used to. It's not as much a community. I think they're trying. I think they're all hanging on by their fingertips. Every religion that I'm aware of, it's hard.
Yep.
And I think that's part of it. The moral compass, the fiber, it just isn't there anymore. People don't take the families to church necessarily and then have to go for coffee and then, visit and all that. I mean, even as a child, I was one of the few Greek Orthodox children in Clinton. And we went to Greek school 3 days a week. We had to learn how to speak it and write it. And because my grandparents came from Greece, and they could speak it, but they couldn't write it.
Right.
So I had to learn.
They wanted you to learn to write
I was the one. My brother didn't have to go, but I was the one that had to go. And church, that was significant, but it just isn't happening like that anymore for any number of reasons.
Yeah.
But again, my major concern is that all the students that we're careful to make certain that they have the support systems that they need. And if it's not available for whatever reason in the home, of course. I mean, we should be there anyway. I don't care if it's the English language learner, and we have a lot of those. The whole climate has changed as far as all these cities, even the town I grew up in, even in Clinton.
Sure.
It's different. But those are the ones where I see they're challenged, they're needy. And we do have a great staff. It seems like there isn't enough time in the day. So that's my concern, that everybody has
no
enough
child left
available.
behind. Every kid gets attention, right? We do the best we can for every kid.
Yeah, and it takes
Whatever
a
that
village.
takes.
It takes a village.
Yeah.
It really does. I know that's trite, but it's true. It takes a village because everybody needs to be involved at some level. Every person that's dealing with that child, whether it's the teacher, guidance, administration, and sometimes because of the numbers, they could be lost in the shuffle. And we're doing them a grave disservice. But again, I think with what is happening, that especially the Leominster district, I think we do a very good job. But it's ongoing. It's evolving.
No.
We can't assume anything.
No. Sandy Cucchiara, running for Ward 3 school committee member. And thanks for coming on. We're going to take a short break, and then we're coming back. We have another guest. Hey, wait a minute. What are we looking for time? Okay. A little bit. So maybe I should show everybody. What are you doing? I was going to show them this. I was going to show them what I see on my clock over there. No. I was just going to show you
What was that?
what I see on my clock, but you can't. Right across the top here is the clock, and it tells me how much time we have left on the show. All right, now we'll take a break. That's all. No biggie. and we're back here in Inside Leominster. That's notice Jack Selly, who put that together. He made sure he mentioned upper 6th Street, and that's because I always tell him the richer Italians lived at the top of 6th Street, and everything kind of flows down the hill, and I lived at the bottom of the hill, and that's in front of Selly's Market. It used to be a little supermarket there, a little corner store, and boy, it's the first time I've seen that, and great job. We'll just see another clip of that. So my mother's probably home watching it, trying to figure out what that is, and that's the Selly family from the top of 6th Street, the more affluent, the more, yeah. Caller, welcome to the show.
Mayor.
I recognize that voice anywhere.
Absolutely. An Irishman from Clinton. I'm going to tell you right now, you work so hard. How do you do this stuff? You got your tie on.
Well, I gotta look, I gotta look the part.
You work hard, Mayor. You really do.
Well, I work with a lot of other people that work hard, right?
And Wendy does.
We lead by example, right?
That's right, Mayor.
Yes.
Anyway, recently I went to a concert, believe it or not, with my mobility issues.
Yeah.
I saw Peter Gabriel.
Come on.
You got, yeah.
I bet that was fun.
Sledgehammer. Remember that one?
Yeah.
I wanna be Sledgehammer. Anyway, wonderful job, Mayor. Good show.
All right. Wait, we got a great guest. You're going to love this, so sit tight. All right. Talk to you soon, George. All right. Anyway, so I try to get this guy on. So I'm going to let him tell you the story. I don't want to even paraphrase it for you. But so he meets a guy that becomes a friend, and he gets an invitation to come visit. And so he goes. He says, this is the perfect time. They arrange this visit. And then the rest of the story is just interesting. I find it interesting. I tried to get him, while he was out visiting, I tried to get him to call in, but he couldn't because of communications, and he couldn't do it. And then he had to get out of the country. But David Bergman is my guest right now. And tell your story, because this is so fascinating.
Thank you, Mayor Mazzarella. It's great to meet you.
Yeah, same here. I know a lot of people that know you.
Oh, I know a lot of people that know you.
Yeah.
And they all say good things.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So what happened?
Okay.
Tell us the story of how you met this guy.
Oh, I visited Israel for the first time ever in April, and I went to the north. I flew to Tel Aviv, and I went to the north, to Haifa, Sea of Galilee, Jordan River, and it was amazing. But when I was in Haifa, they have cable cars. It goes from the ocean kind of to the mountains. Wow. Mount Carmel, I think it's called. Yeah. And so this young guy is on my cable car. Two people, and we're talking.
Yeah.
His
because you
father,
like to talk. You just love to talk to people.
Well,
you find
like
people fascinating. Yeah.
So our fathers both lived in Brooklyn at one time.
Right.
And they both served in the military, so we kind of clicked.
Yep.
And he had a military uniform on, and I just said, "Are you IDF?" And he said, "No, I'm in a boarding school that's a military school."
Wow.
So we're talking, and then we get off the cable car, and I figure, good luck and all that. And then he invites me to go visit the military school, which was right down the street. And he calls the commander, and he said, "I'm going to say you're my uncle."
Yeah.
Because and I'm more like his grandfather, but I don't even know him. And there's high security and all that.
Yeah,
and,
of course there is.
So I go there, and I met his friends, and it was a great experience. And then, so then a few months later, now, a couple weeks ago, my sister works for Delta.
But you kept this guy's information. You ended up trading phone numbers.
Oh, yeah, it was great.
Yeah, become friends.
Yeah, he's my friend on Facebook, and we communicate. So then my sister worked for Delta, so she had a 3-night layover in Tel Aviv right before the war. And so she was supposed to be there a couple days after it started. So I went a couple days early to meet up with her, and I was planning on going to Jerusalem, Bethlehem, Dead Sea, and then. So I'm there for maybe 30 hours. The second morning I'm there, I wake up 6:38. I remember the time, and I go to the lobby.
Their time.
Yes.
Because I remember you posting this like after 2 minutes, like you were like posting it, like telling people what was going on.
Yeah, 7-hour time difference.
Right.
So they say, two people said, "Did you hear the air raid siren?" No, I'm a heavy sleeper. I didn't hear it. So then they show me alerts on their phone.
Right.
And then, so I started trying. I didn't think it was a big deal.
You've only been there 30 hours.
Right.
And 8 of them you were sleeping.
Right.
You just got there.
Right. So, they said you probably should stay right here for now. And so I just started reading updates. I didn't think it was a huge big deal because I just didn't. Because they have Iron Dome and sometimes rockets fired.
Yeah.
But then
It's
I
a way of
started
life,
looking
actually,
at
for them.
Twitter and the local newspaper there, and then I see it was a complete horror show. I saw a lady somewhere in the South with her phone videotaping a truck with 8 guys with big machine guns right where she lives. And then I saw this was horrible. I saw a couple hours later these guys on another truck with a young woman who I later found out was 20 years old, dead on the truck.
Oh no!
And they're celebrating like it was a nightmare. And but where I was that day, it didn't feel. I don't know. There were rumors. There's terrorist cells being released all over the country.
Right.
Don't walk into crowds. Don't walk on the
panic.
side of the road. But after a few hours, nothing happened right where I was.
Yeah.
So I had to get out of there. I couldn't just stay there all day. So I ended up walking to the beach, which was maybe 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
And but there was so then the next day, next couple days, there were just various rocket attacks, and you could hear explosions off in the distance.
You could hear where you were.
Oh yeah, a few. But the worst day was I was on the bus to go to a historic city of Jaffa, which in the south, where it used to be the port, the main port, and like biblical things happened there. And there's been people living there for, they say, 5,000 years.
Right,
because
right.
Tel Aviv is kind of mostly new.
Right.
And so I'm there. So the bus stops. I'm on a bus, and he goes, "Everybody leave and go." So we go to a kind of a high rise, and we go to a bomb shelter. And then I heard maybe 3 explosions, and then we leave. And then I'm walking around the first developed neighborhood of Tel Aviv, which was very interesting. And then I heard another air raid siren. And then I ended up in another bomb shelter, and then...
Are there bomb shelters all over the place? That's what I hear. That
it's
just a way of life, that there's these bomb shelters everywhere.
Yes, people have them at the high rises. Every apartment has their own, they call it a safe room.
Right.
And they're all over the place.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then the worst one, though, was that same day. So I was in 3 bomb shelters in maybe 2 hours.
Wow.
The worst one was... I was like where all the tall buildings are, downtown, I guess, and I hear the air raid siren, and I didn't know where to go. And I look at this lady, thinking she knows where to go. She's looking at me like we both don't know where to go, like 2 deers caught in the headlights.
Yeah.
And then I see a bunch of people running down under an underpass, I think it was. And so we go under there, and right after we get under there, I heard the loudest explosion yet, like super loud.
Like it's close.
And then 10 minutes later, we have to wait 10 minutes because of maybe shrapnel or whatever, dust. So we leave in 10 minutes, and I see people pointing directly above, and it was a circular shape of a cloud directly above us, but pretty high.
Yeah.
And that was where I guess the Iron Dome missile hit the rocket. Because that was the worst part.
Right.
For me, personally.
Yeah, right.
And,
but these things were hitting, so that you were very close to where things were striking.
Oh, yeah.
And they had dust and everything, so you were right in the middle of it.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the first day was pretty scary, but after the first day, well, that was the scariest part for me, what I just told you. But every other day, I was more feeling like in shock and numb, like that, and I couldn't just stay where I was staying the whole time, every day. So I went out every day, and a lot of the people, that's what they were doing. They're just, you got to live your life no matter what.
Move on, and when the air raid siren goes off, you go into a shelter, right? That's how they do it, bomb shelter.
Right, and the building I stayed at, I don't think they had a bomb shelter because it was a solidly built building, so that seemed pretty safe right there.
Now, how many times have you been to Jerusalem and Tel Aviv and Bethlehem?
I've been to Israel twice, but I never had a chance to go to Jerusalem and that area. But I was planning on it this time.
Right, of course.
So
yeah. Wow, what an experience! And I was reading your messages on Facebook, and I'm like, wow, he's like in the middle of this. It's dangerous stuff.
I appreciated you made a couple of comments which like really helped me because I was alone. And, and the comments were making me feel like I wasn't so alone, you know, and that helped. That
we're back here plugging for you, get to safety.
Yeah.
So then it became obvious that you needed to get out of the country. I mean, that was no easy task either, getting out. You ended up in what, Athens?
Yes, after 7 or 8 days in Tel Aviv.
So you were still there all that time. So 30 hours after you get there, they start bombing.
Yeah.
30 hours. And then you're there for 7 days.
Yeah, it was, there were so many people, Delta and All American Airlines, which I'm sure you've heard, were not flying in and out of there.
Right. So there were no planes to get out?
I had a buddy pass with Delta, so that was my hope to get out.
Right.
But no. So then the day I got out, it was crazy at the airport. I had a flight at 8:05 a.m. It gets canceled.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the flight board where red is canceled, delay, green is good.
Yeah.
And maybe 2/3 of them were red.
Right.
And so
tree.
then I'm outside for a little bit and I see a car pull up with these people with vests and 2 big American flags.
Wow.
I'm like, what's going on here? It's a United States Embassy of the USA.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
And I talked to them, and they said, if you don't get on your next flight, I had a flight at 10:50.
You ain't going nowhere.
No, they say, come back to us, and we'll put you on the emergency list. And I've heard 2 days later, or maybe a day later, they put people on a ship in Haifa to the north to go to Cyprus.
Wow.
But that wasn't me.
Yeah.
So then I'm in Athens.
So they hooked you up, right? I mean, they did follow through. They helped you.
I heard that from a couple people that's what happened 1 or 2 days after I left.
Right.
So So I had no idea I was ever going to go to Athens, and I do like feta cheese.
Yeah.
But I had, that was amazing. But I didn't really feel like at all like vacation mentality.
Right.
It was
Well,
but it
you
was
just
still
saw
nice.
and experienced things that people in this country, other than our veterans, I mean, we've not been under attack. I mean, you could say 9/11 was under attack, but we've not really been under attack. And you were there, like in the middle of it, with air raid signs, air raid signs and shelters, and so now they get you out.
Yes.
And you end up in Athens. And how long were you there?
4 days.
4 days.
And I was trying to get out of there, but
Right.
it was the same situation. There were so many people trying to get out, supply and demand, and so.
Did you get a hotel there, or did you just try to hang around the airport?
I stayed in a hostel, which is like a hotel, but it's if you're on a budget.
Right.
And but the one I stayed actually in 2, but the first one was okay, but whatever, not that great. The second one was. It was amazing. You go to the roof and you can see the Acropolis from the roof.
Wow.
There's an olive tree right next to you, a small olive tree.
Wow.
There's a lime tree right over here. And some band was shooting a music video on the next roof right when I got there. The sun's going down. So that was pretty amazing.
So have you been back in touch with that young soldier that's training in boarding school?
The last time we communicated, and I'll tell him about being here. He'll be glad to hear that.
Yeah, he can email in and get it on demand on Leominster.tv.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I will. I'll let him know that. But anyway, the last time he sent me a picture that he took of his friend at their village somewhere in the north, and it was like a dirt road, and then it was blocked off with a big metal gate, and his friend was there with his sidearm guarding it. So they were both taking turns guarding the entrance.
Wow.
And he's not in the IDF. He's like a senior in high school age. But he...
Is it like ROTC or something? They're training
exactly.
Yeah.
Military school.
Yeah, right. It's
Yes.
amazing. What an experience. So you thought you were just going on a vacation here, right?
I know.
After meeting this guy down here, like, hey, I'll go back and,
I know.
get a chance to see, like you said, Bethlehem and Jerusalem and, and then you end up in this 30 hours after you arrive. got to be complete panic, especially for Americans that don't ever experience that.
No, it was not on my bucket list to be in that situation at all.
And hopefully everything's going to work out there. I mean,
I know.
I think anybody that's followed sort of history, I know that in Israel, this is how they live. They live under, the threat of attack and bomb shelters, and it's sort of a way of life for them, unfortunately. But somehow or another, they infiltrated without anybody knowing. I mean, this is a complete surprise for the most part, which is even more scary because there's nobody that does defense better than they do. And somehow or another, I guess someday the history books, somebody will sort it out and say, how did this happen? I mean, and so anyway, just too bad. I mean, here you are out there visiting, and these poor people that are just average, everyday working people, just trying to survive, and they're under attack.
I know. And yeah, I guess there was some big weekend dance.
Yeah,
they stay up all night, camp out, and
kind of like Woodstock.
And it looks I heard there was a peace. I don't know. I'm not in that.
It was a peaceful thing.
Peace festival too.
Yeah, just
it
chilling.
was just like.
And I think the mistake. I'm no expert. Just by watching it, it looks like they ran to their cars, and the Israeli police and were trying to tell them to run into the woods. And their first thing was, let me get out of here as fast as I can. What they didn't realize is how many people would jump in their car and nobody was going anywhere fast, right?
Yeah.
And instead of hitting the woods and getting out of there by foot, they made a mistake. I guess it's just human behavior to say, let me just get in my car, I'm out of here, unfortunately. But those are all innocent people there, and sad to happen. Well, Dave Bergman is my guest, and the poor guy just gets to Israel 30 hours later. He's in the middle of it all. And I hope you're still going to go back, I guess, when everything sort of settles down and get a chance to see what you originally wanted to see.
I hope so, too.
Yeah. And hopefully that your friends and other people that you met, and hopefully everybody's okay. And as you say, they just carry on with just their way of life. And they're like, I'm not going to just sit in this bomb shelter all day. I got to go out and live, right? We got to eat, and take care of the kids and grandparents and everything else in between. So are you retired now, or you still working?
Semi-retired.
You are. And what did you do? Now I know you did the whole ice hockey and street hockey with a lot of the kids here from Leominster. They're about 60 or so years old. And what did you do for work after that?
Oh, I worked in education out in California. I taught school for a few years, and now I live in New York, and I just work part-time.
Good for
driving.
You. Good for you.
And I'm semi-retired.
And you're happy.
Life is an adventure.
What part of New York you live in?
What?
You live in the city?
Staten Island.
Staten Island. And so my question I always ask anybody that's traveling, do you ever meet anybody from Leominster while you're traveling? You ever bump into somebody? Everybody tells me, yes, I did. I actually met somebody.
I know a few people from Leominster that live in New York.
Yeah.
And
it's pretty funny. There's a good story, and I don't want to give the names up or anything, but guy's a letter carrier. He sees the name on the package, goes up, bangs on the door and says, did you go to Leominster High School? And the lady says, yeah. And he said, you know who I am? And apparently they knew each other. I think it was like Colorado or something. It was a great story. I love those stories, but I had to ask you that.
It's always great to come back to Leominster, though.
Good to see you. And
thank you.
Geez, what a story. I'm like, I followed the whole thing on Facebook. I'm like, now what? And every time, some nights I'm not a good sleeper, so I'm up and I'm just clicking around. And some nights, I was the only one that commented, and I'm watching this going, wow, you better be safe out there. This is scary stuff. I hadn't known anyone that was that close to it. I tried to get you to call in that a couple Thursdays ago, but you had no way of communicating by phone at the time. So you did tell me that when you get back, we'll try to connect. So thanks very much for coming on with us. That's quite a story.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And you want to mention the guy's name that you met out there?
Nadav. I don't know his last name.
Nadav?
But and I just want to say, I really, I don't want to see war, and it got me angry about what happened in this. I know it's controversial, but I just hope there's peace over there. That's what I hope for.
See, that's age and wisdom. We hit a certain age and we're like, We don't want to see any innocent people. Why can't they work this stuff? That's what you think, right? When you get older, you're like, look, listen, life is, because the older we get, the more life is important.
Right.
Right? The more life is important. And so we think, do we have to do this? Is there a reason? Is this human life, like people that are sick and they're getting treatments and they maybe not have a long, they do anything for another day. If you go to these hospitals and people have weeks to live or days, they'll do anything for another day.
Right.
Another day. Not another month or a year.
Right.
Another day, the hope. And so I guess as we get older, that's what happens. We develop that. Can't we just all get along kind of feel?
I know, but there's people that it's complicated, but the hate is real. And what happened the first day I was there, I was just like 100% with their military in my feeling. But whatever. So
we just don't want to see innocent people get killed.
No, I know.
Right?
No, definitely not. So it's nice to be out of there, but hopefully I'd like to go back someday.
Oh yeah, I'd love to visit someday. I know that at St. Anna's they took a tour this past year, and said it was the most moving thing that they've ever experienced in their lifetime, and I'd like to get a taste of that sometime, but I guess we'll have to wait on that. All right, thank you. It's David Bergman.
Thank you.
And he was in Tel Aviv 30 hours after arriving, and the bombing started, and he did make his way out. He did say we'd connect when he got back, and he did. And we're taking a short break, and we're coming right back. Remarkable film for saving some of these things, boy. I'm looking at the back of I'm looking at the back there, and I can see Henry Lanza's house in the back, and where Julio Lanza lived, and Jenny, and the Lollies at the bottom of the hill, and the Sellies on the corner, and the Fantazis across the street, and Sandy DeCarlis's grandmother and grandfather on the next, the Kittriches. Geez, I could go on forever. And that's preserved forever, right? I mean, that film is preserved forever, for generations, and it's quite a thing. So That's great stuff, and we lived at the bottom of the hill, just so we're corrected. Dave Bergman, that was awesome, huh? I hope everybody enjoyed it as much as I did. I'm just fascinated by the whole thing. And he's texting at his time at 7 in the morning. Our time, it's 2 in the morning or whatever. And he's describing everything. And then sometimes it's vice versa. It's nighttime. It's daytime here and nighttime there. And I'm like, wow, I can't imagine how scary it is to hear bombs. Going to bed at night, you can hear bombs. And like you said, the dust and everything. I mean, as real as it is. So that hit pretty close. 978-534-1626. All right, let's see if we're hip or not. What's going on back there, Mia? Huh? You ready, everybody? What's popping? What's popping, kids, at LTV? There we go. Okay, here we go. Oh, she already made the turn. All right, October 20th, Scorsese's Killer of the Flower Moon impresses with a $25 million debut. That was a lot of money then, right?
250 million.
Yeah, 250 million. Oh,
That's the budget.
Not 25 million? It says 25 million.
No, that's how much it made.
That's what it made?
Its budget. It hasn't made its budget.
Oh, so it's we got to get moving on that movie there, right?
Yeah.
And Bad Bunny hosts on Saturday Night Live and performs in several skits. Remember, Saturday Night Live used to have I don't know how many million people watching it. Not as many anymore. It's not the hipster place that it used to be. And they got to be careful because when they're sort of doing these little skits, they have to make sure generationally that people know who it is that they're kind of poking fun at. October 24th, Britney Spears' book, The Woman in Me, is released. Now, I saw a couple of photos of Britney Spears, and this is her tell-all kind of story, like why she's been acting maybe the way she's been acting and all of that. And is it selling? Is it on the New York Times bestseller list or anything? Okay. And I can't see the last slide. It says, is it Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson? What happened? We're getting kicked off. I think he was trying to move that. Anyway, it's Dwayne "The Rock", and it's Johnson's wax figure in Paris. Shocks fans and the actor himself, saying the figure looks like who? Mr. Clean. Do you know who Mr. Clean is, Mia? That tells you whether or not you're hip or not. The generational connection, right? All right.
Do you want to see a picture of it?
Yeah, let's go. Let's see, Mr. Clean. He was bald. Yep. Look at that. He does look like him. He does look like Mr. Clean. All right. The top 10 highest grossing horror movies of all time. Looks like It was? Seriously?
It is number one.
It is number one. I Am Legend is number two. Jaws. Really? Jaws was like 1975. I got out of high school then. What's the next one? It's Chapter 2. Wow, those are The Exorcist. I'm surprised The Exorcist wasn't the number one. But remember, that was 1972. So they're not talking today's numbers. They're talking, they're talking today's numbers, but then it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right? And what else did I miss? I can't. And what else?
The Nun.
The Nun.
Hannibal.
Cannibal, yeah. Hannibal, yeah.
A Quiet Place.
A Quiet Place.
The Conjuring.
Conjuring, and then.
Resident Evil, the final chapter.
Oh, I didn't get to see that one. Wow. These are big. These gross a lot of money, these horror movies. All right. And next, here we go. Come on, don't tease us. The 10 most popular Halloween candies. Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, M&M's, Hot Tamales.
That shocked me.
What is it?
That shocked me.
What?
That Hot Tamale.
Yeah, me too. Now, remember, there's different part. We're not the entire United States. We're just part of it. South Patch Kids, Starburst, Hershey's Kisses, Candy Corn, Hershey Mini Bars, and Snickers. Okay. And there's...
These are all celebrities in costumes.
These are all celebrities.
Yep.
So it looks like Harry Potter on the right.
No.
It looks like the Riddler on the left.
That's the Weeknd as the Joker.
Yeah, the Joker. I'm sorry, the Joker. I said the Riddler.
Ice Spice as Animal Crossing.
All right.
That is Kylie Jenner as the Bride of Frankenstein.
And who's on the far right?
That is Cole Sprouse.
Cole Sprouse.
From Atlantis. He's supposed to be Michael J. Fox's character from Atlantis.
Oh, all right. It does look like. And here we is that Bella Lugosi or something there?
No, that's the actual real Bride of Frankenstein.
That is?
Yeah.
How cool.
These are what the real ones look like.
Look at that. All right, let's go to the next. I got to hurry now. Are you more hip than a teenager? Ghosting. Ghosting is when, isn't it like all of a sudden we're texting back and forth or emailing, and then all of a sudden you don't hear from the person again. It's like, where'd they go? All of a sudden and that's the thing about social media is texting and all this, is it's almost like hanging up on somebody, right? And all of a sudden, and I hear people that are dating and stuff, and they're like, geez, things look like they were going good. We're going back and forth. Then all of a sudden, nothing.
The definition is on the next slide.
The ending of a relationship, romantic or platonic, with somebody by suddenly ceasing all communication with, but that makes it even stranger later when you do bump into that person and you ghosted them. Yes, that's bizarre. And then you bump into them and you're like, oh man, that's pretty weird. All right, let's get some, we got other slides ready here? I know we only got a minute and 40 seconds together, but I just want to remind everybody, the Halloween parade, 1 o'clock. This Saturday, behind C&M Pizza, 1 o'clock, we are the parade. Come down. Don't let us miss you. We have a nature walk next week. It's a Nick Walk, November 2nd at 4 o'clock down to the Manusnock Trail. All right. This is all we have for data right now. They're not giving us a lot. 2506 tested positive in all of Massachusetts in 7 days. 18 deaths, 1 is too many. Right now in Leominster, we have 22 cases of positive. It's National Chicken Fried Steak Day, National Day of Deployed Day, National Financial Crime Fighter Day, National Pumpkin Day, and worldwide Howl at the Moon, ah-woo, ah-woo, ah-woo. And in 1949, President Truman increases the minimum wage, kids, from 40 to 75 cents. 1950, Mother Teresa founds the Missionaries of Charity in Calcutta. I always wanted to go to Calcutta. 1958, Pan Am does its first transatlantic flight from New York to Paris. 1970, Doomsday. Comic strip, 28 newspapers. With first, Henry Kissinger declares peace at hand in Vietnam. 1973, President Nixon releases the first White House tapes on Watergate. And in 1988, Donald Trump says to Mike Tyson, I gave you advice, 4 months worth of advice, $2 million you owe me. And then in 2017, President Donald Trump declares the opiate crisis a public health emergency. Tons of projects we'll talk about next week. We got big grant in North Leominster for $3 million. We don't have to come up with any money ourselves. And let's see if there's any pictures of the week. Remember, Shoalin Farms is still open 10 to 5 every day. And they have these beautiful apples. And you know what? Get up there and support them. That's your... So there we are. Thank you to Sterling Street Brewery. They made a substantial donation to us. They had a fundraiser for the flood fund and raised $2,000. I want to thank to them. A bench dedication to Munji Manjagati over at Fournier Field. And what a wonderful day it was. And we'll show these next week. Voter training at City Hall. Remember, elections in less than 2 weeks. And the groundbreaking for Habitat for Humanity project right off of Merriam Ave up by Twin City Mall. And also there, did I go by something real quick? The Recreation Commission had the Pumpkins in the Park Fest, and it was well attended. And trail stewards, hard at work. You know, a lot of damage out in those trails. And thank you to our trail stewards for being out there to help restore those. And hydrant flushing continues. Make sure your hydrants are working and to remove sediment buildup. So keep a little extra water stashed aside. And, oh my God, put that aside. Halloween fashion statements from the mayor. Every year I dress to something. Well, there I am. Every year I dressed up. So I don't know what year that was, but hey, it's interesting. All right. Oh my goodness, more. Look at that. That was pretty good, actually. That was professionally done. There's my mother in the background. There I was dressed as a pirate. What will it be? What will it be last year? Will it top last year? I don't think so. The costumes we ordered didn't come in, so we'll see what happens. Big parade. Be out there on Saturday. All right, we're out of time here at Inside Leominster. Thanks for watching. Remember, the world's run by those who show up. You got to show up. Thanks for the whole crew here. They do a great job. Thank you. Good night.
Inside Leominster is brought to you in part through the generous support of N.P. Crowley Company Incorporated. And by DeCarolis Insurance Agency Incorporated. DeCarolisInsuranceAgency.com. And by Enterprise Bank. Enterprise Bank, create success. EnterpriseBanking.com.
This is LTV.